The greenhouse effect and role of the ruminants is one of the emerging topic, and we'll see the agriculture and greenhouse gases as some of the sources are telling, like Jill Hamstra, University of Nebraska, and other thing. So why this is important is agriculture emits greenhouse gases, and the agriculture activities can capture the sequester of the greenhouse gases, and the policy conversions and development will include the agriculture also, and the agriculture greenhouse effects in different countries. Of course, in India it is not measured properly. Industry is in top, then followed by the transportation, residential areas, commercial, and last is the agriculture. Even then, it is said that the animal husbandry and agriculture are contributing to the greenhouse effect to the greater extent. So the importance of smallholders farms, especially they cultivate the agriculture, 75% of the production of the 75% of the job production in the different countries, and 80% of the farms in the small scale sectors, they are all yielding the very low. So this is the greenhouse gas source emission, and here you can see that enteric fermentation is the choice of the diet ingredients, improved digestibility, enhanced feed intake, and other things. So coming to the contribution of the agriculture sources or greenhouses gases. So the manure, it is 8%, manure applied to soils 2%, synthetic fertilizers 15%, rice cultivation 11%, and enteric fermentation is contributing to the extent of the 44%. That's why it is said that it is the highest part. And overall contributing this 44% is buffaloes 11%, sheep 7%, and the goats 5%, others 3%, whereas the dairy cattle, they are going to contribute about 19%, and non-dairy cattle like sheep, goat, and other things, they are also contributing to the extent of 50%. So the feed production and for storage, it's the choice of the type of the origin, plant breeding, and improved harvest methods may also be induced. And the manure storage and use also emits the greenhouse gases, and adopted protein intake, then improved digestibility, use of the fibrous diets, optimize the excreta, then management of the manures is also another one of the important source of the greenhouse gas. And greenhouse gas intensity of the livestock production is concerned. So here in Africa it is highest. This last line is its highest. In the South America also it is to the highest extent, whereas in the countries like India, even though it has got the highest cattle population, it is in the middle range. Whereas in case of Australia, etc., where the cattle population is less, there the intensity is also less. Hence, the most least, especially the greenhouse gas effect from the livestock production is from the some of the countries like Japan, etc., where the industries are much more dominant. It is very less, whereas the African countries it is very high. Whereas the climate change policy is changing everywhere, and why we need to know. And greenhouse gases, agriculture are the carbon dioxide, methane, then nitrous oxide, and the all these three are contributing to the greenhouse effect, whereas the methane is from the animal sources. Hence, we will concentrate on the agricultural activities like the manure management, then nitrous oxide, agriculture soil management, etc. Whereas the agriculture activities, especially the animal husbandry activities, the number one is enteric fermentation of the ruminants, and also the manure management, and apart from this one, the for, these agriculture activities, the fossil fuels and electricities are the important things, whereas the carbon footprint is also a important thing. Whereas the livestock and poultry environment is one of the thing with which the mitigation or reducing the greenhouse effect is very much required. And farm managements, like they produce lot of the gases and also the manure, etc., then also contributing to the greenhouse effect. So the adaptation is by changing the temperature, changing the frequency of extreme weather, hydrologic cycles, and the connections, timing of farm operation, invasive species as plant and animal. So the adoption examples, extreme rainfall areas are causing more and more frequent manure soil spills in our state. This pattern is expected to continue. Then the adoption, especially in case of the livestock, need to be adopted or semi-arid environment in developing 10 years plan. And the increasing livestock strength is also another thing in India, but the production is less, hence it need to be focused. So the soil carbon dioxide need to be reduced, whereas the animal diet, which produces more and more carbon, this methane and some of the nitrogen oxide, so it need to be changed apart from when compared to the all other parameters. Then the assessment report, why it is important means agriculture practices, including the animal husbandry, collectively can make a significant contribution at low cost to increasing soil carbon sinks and the greenhouse gas emission reductions, and by contributing to the biomass foodstuffs by energy use. So the greenhouse gas is mainly covered by the industrial things, and also the greenhouse gas can be maintained by biofuel production, switch grasses, algae, ethanol plant, and the use of the nitrogen efficacy, that's the M2, is also another thing, and covered manure storage, like these examples of manure anaerobic digesters need to be followed, not to leave the methane gas to the environment. And the animal diets need to be changed in such a way that it should produce less methane and less nitrogen oxides. So the energy efficiency, reducing fuel use, and is also one of the use, especially for emission of the carbon dioxide from the poultry industry also. So trade off and on always going. So then the crop pattern will also need to be changed. But there are a lot of advantages of animal husbandry also, because they contribute the organic farming to the greater extent by the production of the manure. So here, these are all the major greenhouse gases emissions and contributions by the sectors. So methane is 16%, the gases, whereas the nitrous oxide is as to the extent of 16%, carbon dioxide is by 11%, whereas the carbon dioxide from fossil fuel and industrial process is the 65%, whereas the methane is a very small portion when compared to the other sources which are producing the fossil gases, especially the gases which are producing the greenhouse effect. And where do greenhouse gas emissions? Number one, it is from different type of thing. Industries produce highest 17.9, and 14% transportation, 9.6 from other sources, whereas the electricity etc., also produced to the highest extent, whereas the livestock or and agriculture, both invertebrate and agriculture, together they form about 20.4%, about the one fifth only, whereas the contribution of this to the economy is also higher in the better manner. And sources of the greenhouse gas are direct and indirect. The enteric fermentation is direct source, whereas the manure management is also direct source. Indirect land uses changes, livestock induced desertification, release of the cultivation soil and carbon from feed production and on-farm fossil, etc. The production of the dung, manure, etc. and post-harvest emission. Whereas the agriculture is simply contributing to the extent of 11%, and out of which the contribution from the environmental section is also very less. Whereas the commercial and residual gases produced to the extent of 30%, transportation 29%, industries also contributing to the extent of 30%. Then this is the effect, especially the methane is emitted by the animals, and also it is going to accumulate into the greenhouse effect. But the major sources are the factory, which produce lot of fossil fuels, and it is converted into the carbon dioxide. Then, like this energy, seeds, pesticide, and this fertilizer factories, they produce lot of the fossil fuel gas, especially the carbon dioxide. Whereas the industrial and domestic waste after burning, they produce nitrous oxide and the methane also. Machinery waste management and biomass burning is also going to cause lot of N2O, CO2, CH4, etc. So application of the fertilizers and the soil balance, and also the methane is emitted by the livestock in the form of the dung. At the same time, it is also going to put on the soil biomass and going to produce the methane. Whereas land use change is also another thing. Cultivation process is also the things which are contributing to the greenhouse effects, and one we need to be careful, especially about the thing. But it is not an alarming that the ruminants do produce the greenhouse effect. At the same time, the ruminants also do contribute to the production of the organic manure. Hence, even though it's costing about 60% or very less, it is not a significant thing when it is compared to the benefits of the animals. For example, animals also going to yield the manure, and because of the production of the manure, we will get a very good crop. So, in a very eco-friendly way, hence, we need to reduce the greenhouse producing gases from the other sources instead of simply focusing on the ruminants, especially in case of the India and other countries where the livestock population is high. So the summary of this thing is the agriculture or the animal husbandry, they are the significant source of methane and nitrous oxide, of course, even though they are not highest. And many current recommendations and management practices also mitigate the gases. And production of efficacy is also a key. The farm and ranch business plans should be considered and prepare for ways to adapt the changing climate, financial opportunities, and also possibility of the regulations. So the USDA, etc., they have studied a lot of effects of the livestock on the environment, and they say that reduce the greenhouse effects from the animal as less as possible, so that the environmental warming or the global warming should be very less. So we need to concentrate on the aspect in such a way that our animals should not produce much methane or the carbon dioxide. At the same time, the dung or any other product should be more and more environmental friendly. So that's about the topic, and we'll come up with a topic day after tomorrow.